Hi everyone, I'm Chibuike, and in this video we'll be learning how to create parts. In our last video we learned about targets, and we saw how we could create targets by using the target button on its each target. To create a part, select the parts button, and you can double click to rename it, or you can right click and select rename. We'll call this drawing a square. Then we want to move to these points to create our square. So I would move to the home point first by just dragging the home target into the part, then to the first point, then to the second point, then to the fourth point, and then to the third point. Then I'll move back to the first point to complete the shape, the square, and move back home. So these draws a square, but if you look closely at the corners you can see that they're rounded. This is because a parameter called zone has been set to a higher value, which means that the robot does not necessarily have to get to the point, provided that it's within a margin of that point. So if we want to change that, we can click on the instruction we would like to change, the move instruction we would like to change, and we select move instruction. And this will come up with a dialog box that allows us to change whatever parameter we would like to change. So I will start by selecting the first one, the last one, which is everything, and then editing that instruction. So I'm going to change the zone. So the zone is what defines this radius, and I'll set that to fine. Apply this, and now you can see that all the edges are square. Okay, so now I would like to test the part to make sure that the robot can get to all the points within the spot. So if you select the part and right click, you can select move along path, and this will allow the robot to move around the path. However, you can see that the robot gets stuck here. This is because the robot cannot move to this point without colliding with itself. So that's why it could not move back to the first point. However, we can fix this easily by selecting all our points and offsetting their position in the X. So if we move them forward by 50, and then we move along path again, it works. Okay, we've successfully created a path that draws a square. However, in most cases that we will be creating paths, this would not be acceptable, as it's not advised for the robot to move from the home position to the work position in just like a straight line like that. Firstly, we have to add a new position there, like a target, like an offset. So I'll click on that and copy it, and then paste it and rename, and I'll call this position 1 offset. I'll modify its position and move it up. Remember, using the blue arrows you can tell your orientation. So move it up by 50. And now, instead of going directly to the first point from home, I'll move I move to this point, and then after that I move to the offset point before going back home. So just to see how that works, I would move along part. You can see, so it moved there and then went straight down. And also because we didn't change the zone, so it's added that radius there. If we wanted, we could right click and modify the instruction to set the zone, but we'll leave that for now as I'm happy with that. Now, before our drawing is ready for the real world, there are two things we have to change. Firstly, we have to choose wisely the type of motion we use for different phases of our drawing. So while we're drawing the lines for the square, it's okay for us to use a linear motion, but moving from the home point to offset point using a linear motion is sort of overkill and it's not advised. So we'll select these 4 points, these 4 move instructions. You could do that by holding Control on your keyboard, then right click, and then we'll edit the instruction, and under the motion type we'll set this to joint. So the robot is not constrained to move in a straight line, it just has to get to this point and then it can move in a straight line to draw the square. That's why we have this offset point. So lastly, before our program is ready for the real world, we have to ensure that all our targets have the right configuration, which means that we've selected the way in which the robot should get there. So let's say for the home target, if you right click and select configurations, there's currently only one way for the robot to get to that point. So this is fine, but for more complicated targets, there might be 2 or even 3 ways in which the robot can get to that point. So you would have to select the right way for that to happen. So we just select the right one and select apply, and that's it. But if you don't know, if there are so many targets and you do not want to do that for all of them, you can select your parts and select auto configuration and all move instructions, and it would go through all of them and we select what it thinks as the best configuration for those targets. But for some complicated ones, you would have to do this manually, and you now know how to do it.